Hello, young men. So now we're going to look at a ratio table, and we are coming up with equivalent ratios for 3 to 4. But instead of using a double number line or a tape diagram, we're going to look at using a ratio table. So when we're creating our ratio table, we always need to have 3 columns. We need quantity 1, quantity 2, and then a total. So because our quantity is not really described as anything, it's just the number ratio itself, we can just put unit 1, unit 2, and total, because we don't have actual units right now. So what would normally go here is whatever the description is. So let's say if this was 3 yellow hats to 4 yellow hats, then this would be yellow hats, blue hats. Something of that nature. Or if it was 3 boys to 4 girls, this would be boys to girls, and then the total. So our first unit, or the first quantity in our ratio, is 3. So we're going to put 3. The next quantity is 4. And if we took our 2 quantities and we wanted to create a total, that would be 7. Now, if we're keeping with our equivalent ratio, we know that we're going to keep increasing by the same amount in our unit. So here, now, so basically we're saying for every 3 of this unit, there has to be 4 of this unit. So now if I have 6 of the first unit, that means I would have to have 8 of the second unit. And then now the total is 14. So like we talked about in class, you're going to notice that there's a pattern happening. And the pattern here is multiples of 3. So what I told you guys to do is right at the top what you're multiplying by. Unit 2 is multiples of 4. So we're going to put times 4. And the total is multiples of 7. So we're going to put times 7. And then we're going to show our work within our table. So 3 times 1 gives us the 3. 4 times 1 gives us the 4. 7 times 1 gives us the 7. So we know out here we're multiplying by 1. So as you can see, 3 times 1, 4 times 1, 7 times 1. So here we have 3 times 2, 4 times 2, 7 times 2. And as you can see, we're multiplying by 2. And it can keep going on. So now the reason for the table is because, let's say, for example, you have a large quantity, right? So let's say, for example, we want to say, or we want to find out, if I have this ratio 3 to 4, and I want to find out what is the missing equivalent, or the missing piece of the equivalent ratio if I have 48 as my second quantity. So rather than, doing the multiples of 4 all the way down to 48, there's a different strategy that we can use because of our table. So because our second quantity is 4, and our second quantity here is 48, we will put the 48 where our 4 is. So we already know that everything in this column is being multiplied by 4. We're not sure what we're multiplying this row by yet, but we can figure it out. 4 times what gives us 48? Or you could think of it as 48 divided by 4, which is 12. So once I realize I'm multiplying 12 by this, that means this entire row here is being multiplied by 12. So this would have to be 3 times 12, which is 36. And this would be 7 times 12, which is 84. So then the value that would go here would be 36. And like we stated before, you can easily check by using the butterfly method. 4 times 36, which is 144. 3 times 48, which is also 144. So as you can see within this table, we've come up with 2 different equivalent ratios. We could come up with so many more. There's so many equivalent ratios you can come up with when comparing 3 to 4. So the ones that we have here, we have 3 to 4 is equivalent to 6 to 8. And as stated above, we have 3 to 4 is equivalent to 36 to 48. And like I said, we can check. We see 6 times 4, 24. 3 times 8, 24. Alright, so your homework, which will be due on Wednesday, the 11th. Remember, I told you guys that I'm going to give you an extra day because we're off on Monday. So your homework will be, using a ratio table, prove that 4 to 5 is equivalent to 48 to whatever the missing quantity is. So you're going to use a ratio table to prove whether 4 to 5 can be equivalent to 48 to whatever the missing quantity is. If you're not sure, watch the video over, look into your notes. So once again, you are using a ratio table to prove this here. Alright, peace and love. I see you guys on Monday.